Tamil medium instruction school? Will anybody raise their hand? I'm right. I'm not surprised. I'm not opposed to that. Because my kids also went to, though my son went to Telugu medium school, eventually, later stage, he moved to English medium school. I'm not opposed to that, but there is a problem. I want us all to recognize that. The problem is not cultural. The problem is academic. If a child is forced to learn concepts at school in a language other than in which she can interact with the family and the surroundings, that child will not learn well. What the language is indicated to me? Maybe Tamil, Telugu, English. If the child is comfortable in English from right from the beginning, the child learns English as a mother tongue practically because at home English is spoken as freely as Tamil or Telugu or Kannada. It's perfectly okay. But it must be a language which already is understood by the child. If otherwise, you teach the child in a language the child does not understand, particularly in the first 4 or 5 years of schooling, there is impressive academic evidence, research evidence across the world to show that that child in the long term suffers. That education is very flawed education. The concepts are not absorbed. If I say, this paper is on this table, a child that does not understand English, and if that child is forced to learn in English, you will understand the word this, the spelling of it, CHIS, the meaning of it, then paper, PAPER, the meaning of it, each word, and then the syntax, and then the totality of the meaning, and then the concept of on the page. By the time that child tries to understand this, a Tamil knowing or a Telugu knowing people learning in that language, they are more about a mile ahead. You can never match them. In no other country on earth except in South Asia is English a medium of instruction for children who do not know English, children who do not speak in English with their family and their neighbors. Oftentimes, what is English medium school in India? A non-English knowing teacher is teaching a non-English knowing child in English. That is English medium school. In most English medium schools in India, in primary schools, the teacher cannot speak one sentence without mistake. There are no syntax, no grammar, nothing. It's a make-believe thing, but children are suffering. We look at the high-end schools. We look at the well-off families where the parents can support, the parents can speak English fluently, therefore children learn well. But eventually, it leads to this. I'm not opposed to English, obviously. I spoke here in English. I'm not opposed to English, but all I'm arguing is the children should not suffer. First 2 years, it is better that they are taught in a language in which they are comfortable. Eventually, slowly move them to English. Certainly, English is a valued language, it's a necessary language. National or global commerce and trade and science and technology and research and education, there's no question about it. We must move towards English and proficient English. The advantage and edge of English you must retain. But you will retain that by allowing them to learn first in the first few years in a language that they're comfortable with. Which the language. I want to make this point for the record because oftentimes when we discuss language as a medium of instruction, we are confused between culture and academics. Culture is for a community to protect. We cannot impose culture through schools. It's not proper. But academic learning is for the schools. We want to ensure that every single child fulfills her true potential. That's what the purpose of education is. Education is the most democratizing tool. It's the most equalizing tool in an unequal society. A society driven by caste, region, religion, language. A society in which hierarchies apply. A society in which 70% of the children's future is determined in the day of birth because of the circumstances of birth, because of the accident of the womb. We require education accessible to everybody, quality education, so that every child, irrespective of the parentage, can fulfill her true potential, can compete with anybody. That's the purpose of education. Culture is not the purpose of education. Language is not the purpose of education, except to the extent of language itself becoming a tool as empowerment. It is to really liberate the child. It is to fulfill her true potential. If that potential is not fulfilled, then we are denying education to the children. Just because every child is enrolled, today practically every child in India is enrolled in a school. It does not mean every child is getting education. It will take life. One last point. What about representation on political rights of minorities? In this case, linguistic minorities. In some other contexts, it could be gender. It could be, gender is not a minority, but I'm using the word loosely. In the sense, general discrimination applies to gender over the years, over centuries, and of course, religion. Our political system does not give space for legitimate representation. I'm sure in Chennai city and in Tamil Nadu, Dr. Reddy said in Chennai city, did he say 40% of the people are non-Tamil speaking? It was Tamil Nadu. Now, I'm sure you cannot even conceive of the situation where there is 40% non-Tamilians by origin who would be representing you in the assembly and parliament. It simply is not possible in today's India. But that's not very right. We have a first past the post system where minorities are always underrepresented. In fact, this is leading to very serious consequences. Go back to Andhra Pradesh, the issue that some of our friends are raising agitation about. Without making a judgment about what is right or what is wrong, why did a small fringe problem 10 years ago become a major problem to the point of dividing the state within 10 years? Why? When this demand came up in the last decade or so, it had about 5 or 8% support in Telangana region. It had practically no support in Hyderabad. So why it becomes such a major issue? Once the major parties realized that this small number of votes in Telangana would make a difference between defeat and victory, they had to embrace this to get that extra vote. Because in our electoral system, you get one more vote, you win. You get one less vote, you lose. There are no second prizes in our politics. And therefore, a few more votes on account of this, as long as you don't lose votes on account of this particular stand, will actually give an electoral edge. If the Coastal Andhra, Rayalaseema people who now are agitating against the division of the state, then said in 2004 to Dr. Rajasekhar Reddy and Congress Party, or 2000 when they raised the demand, they said, look, you are looking for a few percentage of votes, but we are opposed that you will lose many more votes if you take that stand. That stand would not have been taken. A political game was played. It was a cynical political manipulation. I am sure Dr. Rajasekhar Reddy never wanted to grant Telangana. I'm certain, but he pretended that he wanted, he went along with that, and also along with that, they went along with the argument that Telangana is discriminated against all. There's my evidence. Subsequent reports and studies showed that there is no economic discrimination or exploitation. But at that point, what was the argument? Doping. Remember the word? Exploitation, oppression. And because the major political party, the National Party of India, has actually accepted that argument and repeated that without believing it, it gained traction. Though the seats obtained were not really big even then. They got more seats in Rayalaseema and Coastal Andhra than in Telangana. Nevertheless, the argument now is established. Then in 2009, Telugu Party repeated this. Again the same argument. Yes, there is oppression, yes, there is backwardness, yes, there is injustice, therefore Telangana. So what was a fringe issue became a major issue. See how the first past the post system actually leads to greater disunity, less harmony. This is just one classic example that happened in front of our eyes. But for the electoral system, this would never happen. Many people did not examine it from this point of view. Examining this, that, everything, but essentially it's an electoral system issue. If I got a few more votes, as long as I don't lose votes by taking a particular stand, if other people don't feel strongly on that day about it, they think it's a political tactic, it's okay. Then you can afford to take an extreme stand and a fringe stand, which will gain you votes and therefore give you power. It may be about religion, it may be about caste reservation, the same thing. If I get this particular community's vote by offering reservation, other people are not really violently opposed to that. If I don't lose seats on account of that, if I gain extra seats because this community stands by me, then I'm a winner. Therefore, you bring up the caste issue. Same thing happened in Rajasthan, Gujars versus Menas. Menas were a scheduled tribe. Many people believe that they were wrongly included. Initially, I believe one version is, Gil Menas is what they wanted to say. Somebody put a comma between Gil and Menas. So Menas got the tribal status. And even today, the largest number of officers in IAS and IPS in India are Menas. In my batch in IAS, there were three blood brothers, one of the same father but three different mothers, who were in the IAS in the same batch. It's a record. Three Menas in the same batch. Three brothers in the IAS. You can see the progressive nature of the community, but they got the status. So Gujars who were listed as backward classes, they wanted a tribal status. Menas were already tribal, they felt if they came in, they would compete with them and therefore the Menas would lose the election. When BJP offered the Gujars SC status, nobody seriously opposed, therefore it was a winner. At that point in time, you got Gujars who were across all of Rajasthan, you got many seats. You are not losing many because others thought it was a political tactic, therefore they didn't mind it. And once BJP came to power, they became a major issue, and remember, they paralyzed Delhi, if you remember. They paralyzed Delhi. So it's not really about language or caste or something else. Once you have a system which is very distortional, a few more votes I get into power, a few less votes I lose power. That means every community must be alert every day. If a party makes an unreasonable or an unreal promise without any basis in evidence, every time you must be alert and say, no, we are not tolerating, we vote against this. It doesn't happen in real life. But unless the danger is imminent, people don't stand up and fight. And people think they're all political tactics. Nobody bothers about manifestos in India. And in any case, there are 25 other issues that actually the people start. They can't give a vote only on the basis of one issue. Oftentimes it doesn't happen that way. So there's always a risk of dividing society on caste, region, religion, language, any basis. And that's a very dangerous thing for the plurality of India. Apart from the fact that money power that we talked about so much today, money power, the freebies, and Tamil Nadu is the ultimate state of freebies. From color television to mixies and grinders and tablets and gold stars and every conceivable freebie is offered in elections by TMC and ADSP in this state. Every state is now following suit. Is free rice also offered today? Is there free rice in Tamil Nadu? I thought Andhra Pradesh should be pioneer because Telangana not offered that. Tamil Nadu already beat us. So everything under the sun is now free. And third is division. Why all these things happen, you don't understand. To get the marginal vote, if I get one more vote, I win. If I get one less vote, I lose. And after all, a political party is there to win. Unless the party is a group of them say the country should win, doesn't matter if we win or not, therefore will not do anything wrong. And therefore, you're condemned to lose. A party that's actually seeking power wants somehow win at any cost. And therefore, money power to buy the vote. And in Andhra Pradesh, I don't know about Tamil Nadu, the recent panchayat elections in many villages, the people refused to come to the polling booth because they were not given the money. I don't know if you're aware. They said, we will not vote. Nobody gave us money because wherever SC reservations are given funds, people did not give money, and therefore they said, we will not come and vote. So there's no point saying particular. A culture has not come about. Again, why? If you don't give money, you may not win. Because it's the last 1,000 votes that will make a difference, winner and loser. Which 1,000 votes, I do not know. Therefore, I have to cast the net white. You see the labyrinth system. Nellore, in Ongole, in one of these districts, for an assembly seat in the by-election, 80 crore rupees was spent to buy vote. The Congress leader told me, sir, we related to losing the election.